Okay, it looks like it's 9 o'clock, so we're gonna get started here. So let me open up the slides. We're just gonna do a few slides just to do an intro, and then we'll get started. So first off, I wanted to thank everybody for joining. This is pretty exciting. We had about 720 of you register, which is amazing. And that's just from a tweet and a couple emails. So it looks like we'll be doing more of these in the future. I'd also like to hear where everybody's from. So if you want to type in the chat box, like where you're dialing in from, we can do this at a more convenient time zone for you in the future. So right now we're kind of on the West Coast in San Francisco, but I can stay up late and do another one of these. Okay, so without further ado. So I'm Glenn, I'm an evangelist here for Zeplin, and I'm joined by Patrick. He'll be curating some of the questions. Patrick, do you want to say hi?
Sure. Hello.
So there's really two places you can type in. You can type in chat in the chat area, and you can type in questions in the questions area. Brilliant. As I mentioned, we're based in San Francisco. If you're ever in town for a conference, we'd love to see you, so let us know. Today we're covering style guides and components. So we'll have the process of building out a style guide. I'm also excited to share with you too the future of Zeplin style guides as well. And then we'll also get into Q&A as well. Okay, so let me open Zeplin. So the demo today, or the talk today, I'll be using Mac with Sketch. We support other design tools as well, but that's what the demo will be for today. And let's get started. So style guides in Zeplin let us share colors and textiles and components throughout our design system. So here we can see that we have one built out already. Every project in Zeplin has a dashboard and a style guide. So here we see all the designs that we have, and then here we can see our style guide. So we immediately see our colors, our textiles, and our components. Throughout this talk, by the way, too, I'll try to fold in as many pro tips as I can. So just for example, we see all the colors here within our project. Did you know that we'll also tie into the Mac color picker as well? So let's just say that you like, wow, Glenn, that's an amazing background color. I really want to have that too. If you look at the color picker for the Mac, we'll actually add a tab to it. And then you can change your background to Gandalf gray, if that's what you're feeling, or light orange. So this will also appear elsewhere too, anywhere you see a color picker. So if you're in Sketch and you wanted to see those colors as well, any project that's currently open, you'll also see the color picker as well. It's a little pro tip. So we can see here that we have all our colors. These are for our brand and our textiles. But what I want to do is I want to build this out with you so we can work through it step by step. So I'll go back over to our project dashboard and we'll create a new project. And we'll create a new iOS project in particular. So as a good Zeplin user, what we'll first do is we'll name our project something meaningful. So it could be something like travel beta. Just in case you weren't aware already, we have a Slack integration. So if you want to get notifications for what's going on in this project, you can add it to Slack. I also want to add another pro tip too. If you do have Slack integration from our web interface, you can actually adjust the notifications as well. So you can decide what's actually notified in the Slack channel. So if you're getting a deluge of notifications for things that you don't care about, you can adjust them. So we definitely suggest taking advantage of that because it can help people get up to speed about what's going on in the project. So as I mentioned before, we support many design tools. Today I'll be doing the demo in Sketch. So right now we have a clean project. We haven't uploaded anything yet. If you happen to be on our organization plan, we can see here from the style guide that we can copy colors from another project. So if we were happy with colors and textiles that we had in a previously created project, we could copy those in if you're on organization plan. But what we want to do here is that we want to import a new design. So here I have an iOS app. So what I'll do is I'll grab these artboards just by selecting Command A and grab all these. So if we go to the plugins menu, we can export, but I highly recommend using the keyboard shortcut, Command Control E. If you're working with Sketch and Zeplin a lot, you just take advantage of that. It makes it real fast. So I'll do that shortcut. Now we're greeted with the export dialog from Zeplin. If you have to be part of an organization plan, you can select this top menu. So I'm part of the Zeplin organization and the Game of Thrones organization. I don't watch Game of Thrones, but someone made this. But no one type in no spoilers in the chat box, please, just in case I do decide to start watching it. And then from this project import dialog, if you see at the top here, we can sort by various criteria. So we can see this newly created project, travel beta. Okay, so we're exporting now. So the length of time that it takes, by the way, in case you're curious, it's just proportional to the file size. So if you have lots of images or if you have lots of artboards, it'll just take slightly longer to import them. But that was pretty quick and we're done. So now that we have our designs added, let's just click into a design and start to look at this for a second. So here's one of our artboards for an iOS app. And we can see here that we have, some typeface information, which is great. And we have color information, which is awesome. We don't know if this is part of our design system. We're not sure whether or not that this is something that's been vetted or if it's consistent with the rest of our brand or our style. So we have a lot of teams that we work with that get this far. They upload their designs, which is great. But now we want to do the other half of it too, which is where we build out our style guide, and then that will reveal some context for, is this textile something that we're using across our brand? Or is this color actually what we need? Because this is just a discrete value, but of course we want to have a name for this as well. So what we'll do is we'll jump back over into Sketch, and now we'll want to upload the symbols. Now, we have colors and textiles. What we call symbols in Zeplin is components. So different design tools call it something different, but when they actually import into Zeplin, we call them components. So we want to bring those over. So I'll jump down in Sketch and go to mobile symbols. And we'll select a group of these. Now, depending on how you have these organized, some people have thousands of these, which is great. These are, of course, reusable elements that we want to use across all the apps that we have, in this case, across all the mobile apps that we might have. So what I suggest doing is that if you want an easy way to categorize these and to import these into Zeplin, we can grab them group by group. So here we can clearly see that we have a bunch of icons. So just like we do with artboards, I want to export these by using the Command-Control-E for export, and we'll want to bring them in now into our beta projects. So as we saw before too, when we brought in the designs, we'll see that Zeplin automatically will suggest that we add the colors that it detected from the previous import. So if you define your document colors from within Sketch, we can bring these in. So if you happen to have special names for these, we'll automatically import those and know which name that they are. And we'll do this with textiles as well. So if we add all these textiles, we can see here that all the textile names that we have are now imported as well with the colors that we have it for. And as we just saw before too, we also brought in the components, these icons. So we can always see the status of the import too by clicking that circle, and it'll just show you how much is done. And when the circle completes, now we know that it's completed. Okay, so now I want to show you how to organize these components and how we can work with these. So we just imported a whole bunch of icons. We can quickly select and right-click and create a section. The reason why we want to do this is just because we'll have a lot of different stakeholders from within this, and it just makes it really easy for both designers and engineers to be able to quickly search for different components by making this neat and organized. And you really only have to do this once. You just create sections, and then it just makes it easy, like a framework, just to quickly add new components to the right area. So we call these icons. But one category probably isn't enough, so we can further categorize these further. I can just hold down Control, and I can select a bunch of these, and we can create a new group as well. So we might want to call this like selected. So we can create like a subsection, like a group within a section. So now we can see that we have these icons added as well. So what's really powerful about this is that not only can we see that, yes, this is indeed a component, which should signal to the engineer, like, hey, I probably have code for this, so let me just reuse something I've already written. We can see over here on the right that we also have the ability to add a description. You might want to say, something important. We can do that for each one of the components. If we mark the asset as exportable, or this symbol is exportable, we'll also give you the ability here to grab the image assets for it as well. Regardless of how you configure this in Sketch, we'll export multiple densities of that symbol. So we've heard that that's very helpful, just so that you don't have to bug the designer to go and mark it for a different density. We'll export the 1x, 2x, 3x, and then you can grab the assets that they need. We can also see here too that we have the file as well. If we are the person that was importing or exporting from Sketch into Zeplin, we can also see which file that we were using. So if you click on this icon, we'll conveniently open up the Sketch file for you. We can also see the folder too as well. It happens to be my documents folder. And if we click that, it will link to the file. But just keep in mind, this is only for the person that was importing. And if you are importing, you'll need to have the desktop app, which actually brings up a good point. Why would you use the desktop app in Zeplin versus the web app? Really only for two things. Mostly engineers can use the web app with no problem at all. But if you're going to be importing designs into Zeplin, you'll want to use the desktop app. And then we also have a feature too for anytime you're on a design, we do have the ability to pop out the design. So if you are an engineer and you are implementing this, you might want to overlay it onto the simulator, the emulator, or the web browser to make sure that you implemented it correctly. So you will need to have the desktop app, either our Mac app or our Windows app. But just jumping back over into that style guide, so just going further down, we can also see which screens this component happens to be used in. So we can verify, like, hey, we're using this icon in a lot of different places. And of course, we want to reuse this as much as we can to work more efficiently. So if we click into that design, we'll automatically be linked to an area, and then we can see that we have all the icons here that are now components. So just like I showed you before, back in our dashboard, before we were aware of the discrete value, the RGB value, let's just say, of that color, and maybe we saw that we had some typeface information. But now, since we've uploaded our symbols, our components into Zeplin, now we have context. Now that we know that it's not just a color, it's light orange, and that might be part of our design system. And now if we click on this, we might say, okay, this is not just a font, this is part of our design system. This is a custom text style that we've created. So again, it's just giving more context for your design and making sure that you're consistent throughout all the platforms that you're developing for. I also want to reveal some more pro tips here while I'm on the screen. So a lot of the teams that I visit, a lot of people are using Macs, and if you happen to be working on a MacBook, you can always just use the familiar pinch to zoom. I know you can't see me doing it right now, but you can just use pinch to zoom on the trackpad. Sometimes it's nice to just be able to zoom in instead of having to do Command plus or minus. Also too, from this project dashboard, anytime you're on this, if you just want to select a bunch of designs that you have and quickly drag them into Slack or to your dashboard, you can quickly do that. And we can just drop a bunch of these files and quickly share something, which is great. Might be really handy. I also want to mention too that as you're building this out, like let's just say, you're having an inspired morning and you create something. If you want to share it really quickly with a bunch of people, and they don't even have to be Zeplin users, they don't have to be signed up. From this share button, we can actually enable something called Scene. And you can share a link, basically, that links to like a high-level overview of the design. So you can enable and disable this. This link can be opened in an incognito window, no problem. And you can just share, like, hey, this is what I'm thinking. Here are the colors. Here are the textiles. And then people can see the designs and then also vote on them as well. So it's a quick way to get some early feedback. Okay, so now that we're building out our style guide, I'm going to upload some more components as well. So we can just grab all these, and I can export them into Travel Beta. So again, we want to build out an entire library of these. It just makes it really easy for everybody to search. So those are all importing. Excellent. I want to mention too that you can always search as well. So if you're on this screen and you happen to know the name, you can always just click Command F and then search maybe for icons and quickly grab those. There's also another shortcut too. If you're on the screen or if you're in the dashboard, you can do Command J and then also search for that as well and jump right to it. Makes it really, really handy. Okay, so as we're updating these components, one thing that is sort of a lot of manual work, which I'm sure some of you are aware of, is that if we do make a change to a component, so let's say we jump back over to Sketch, and let's just say that, I don't know, we want to change the opacity of this symbol here, and we want to save and re-import it into Zeplin. So one thing that's a lot of manual work here is that when we do this, we change the opacity of this, is that each project uniquely has a dashboard and a style guide. And if you're part of an organization tier, you might have something like thousands of projects. And of course, with symbols, we want to share them with as many projects as we can because we want to reuse all that code and we want to reuse basically everything that we can. So if you did update that component, you'll have to update it for every style guide for which project is inheriting from that. So let's just say that you have 500 projects that are using a component. What's a lot of manual work is that you'll have to update that component now 500 times for the 500 style guides. So in the agenda, I had something kind of secret. It was like the future of style guides. So we're really excited to share with you a feature that's currently in beta, and we're going to give everybody the link to download this beta. We've heard really great feedback from it so far, but I want to share it with you today. It's called Zeplin Shared Style Guides. So what I can do is I can open up a beta version of Zeplin here. So we have a project dashboard here. Pretty simple, pretty standard. And if I click over to Style Guides, though, now we have the ability to have a style guide tree. So now projects can link to a shared style guide, which many projects can link to. So you could have 500 projects if you wanted to link to the iOS shared style guide and then inherit all the textiles, colors, and components that has. So instead of having to update that component in 500 different style guides, all projects can just link to basically a shared style guide where you can put everything. So just to explain this really quickly, at the top here we have a base style guide. This is like the parent. You'd want to put all the high-level brand colors because these won't change between the platforms that you're working with. So if I click in here, you can see too that we have a much improved style guide interface. We have support Markdown now, and we have a color palette and a new way to organize components and textiles. Here we can see we have our core colors that probably won't change between the different platforms that we're developing for. And then underneath this tree, as these child style guides, we can see that we have web and mobile. So we'll have elements that are platform specific to web that we want to share with all web projects, and then mobile as well. We have a lot of teams that share components between iOS and Android. But then also too, you might have platform specific iOS and Android components as well that you want all products to inherit. So if I click into one of these libraries, we can see here that we have our Markdown, and then we can see that we have our iOS library and our mobile library. So I'd just like to show you a project too real quick. If we have an iOS project now and we have this linked to that shared style guide, we can see that we inherit up the tree. That we inherit all the components from iOS and mobile, and then we also too inherit all the high-level brand colors. So this will just save so much time, and it will really help make the different platforms that you're developing for consistent. And really, we're just trying to save time. You know, as we build up these components, textiles, and colors in our design system, we really want to reuse as much as we can. So this is one way that we can do that. Okay, so we can't wait for you to try this. I'm going to share the link in just a moment. We're going to hop into Q&A in just a minute. And we'd love to hear your feedback. So let's go into Q&A here. Okay, so just to do a quick recap, we built out a Zeplin style guide. We added colors, textiles, and components. We took a look at the Zeplin beta, which you can download right here. Again, if we'd love to hear your feedback, you can just contact hi@zeplin.io, and we'll get back to you. And now I'm going to jump into Q&A. Patrick's been adding some questions that we've been looking at while I've been talking, and I'm going to drag those down. Let's get into these. Okay. Can we show code related to the components? So this is actually a really great question. So this is something that we're working on. So since Zeplin is a productivity product, we want to be as productive as possible. And since both engineers and designers are working in Zeplin, great. Once you know that you have a component and you realize this is something that you've written code for already, we're developing a feature right now that will help link this component to code. So not only will the engineer be aware of like, hey, here's what it is, and I can download the assets for it, but also too, as they're going to implement it, we'll be able to link into a line in their repo and show exactly where it is. Again, just to save even more time and just make it really efficient for them to actually implement this common element. So I don't have the timeline for that, but I know we're working on it really soon, so stay tuned for that. Okay, does Zeplin support versions for components and style guides? Yeah, we do actually. So every time that we're making a change from within a design here, I'll go to a project that we've worked with already. So every time that you make a change to any design, if you click down at the bottom left, we actually have an hourglass. And what this will do is that this will allow you to enter a commit message. Here, let me give you a better example of one that I've actually written commit messages for. So if we're if we're updating an artboard, we'll say, hey, there's a new version, and what has changed? And what we can do is we can type in commit messages, and then we can see over time how the design has changed. And this is important. This might give context for somebody that's visiting this. They might want to see sort of the evolution of how this was changed over time. So every time you upload a new change to an artboard, we'll ask you, hey, enter a commit message, and we highly recommend that you do that. Okay. When is support coming for XD users? Yeah, so that's actually a really good point. We'll support components in XD really soon. Right now we support Sketch and Figma, and we'll have support for XD coming up shortly. So stay tuned for that as well. Okay, hi there. Will shared style guides only be available for organization account types? Nope, it'll be available for everybody. And the beta is completely risk-free to try. So please try it out and let us know. You can use it alongside a Zeplin too. It's not going to mess anything up. And yeah, it's going to be available for all our tiers, including free. So it doesn't matter what you're on. Okay, what happens is when shared style guides is updated, to the components on the screen get updated? Yeah, this is also a great question too. So let's just say that you happen to be updating components within a shared style guide. So let's just say I have a component that I'm linking to in the travel design that I have over here. So when we update a component in the shared style guide, that component will update, and the projects that link to it will still link to that component. However, if you want to see the change in the design on the actual artboard, you'll have to upload the artboard as well. So from within iOS, if we're making a change, and let's just say that we change this component here, we'll still link to the appropriate component, and this one will be changed. But in order for you to see the update to that design, you will have to update the artboard as well from within that project. Okay, excellent. So for any questions that are not in this list, again, just please type them into the question area, and I can take that one as a follow-up. I'll be sending out this recording to everybody, so just in case that you couldn't make it, I'll send it out so that you can watch it in advance. And yeah, again, based upon the feedback from this one, we'll do this one at a different time zone. And if you have any suggestions for topics as well, please let us know, and we'd be happy to cover that. So thanks for joining, everybody, and I hope you have a good day. Thank you.